Dear all, I am Ramón Martínez Carreras, researcher at the Politécnica University of Cartagena. I am one of the authors of the paper Co-Design and Engineering of User Requirements for a Novel ICT Healthcare Solution in Murcia, Spain. The other authors are Francisco Javier Moreno-Muro and María Victoria Bueno-Delgado from the Politécnica University of Cartagena. Francisco José Melero-Muñoz, Josefina Garrido-Lova, and María Sánchez-Melero from the Technical Research Center of Furniture and Wood of the region of Murcia, and Kuldar Tuveter from the University of Tartu. The presentation is structured as follows. First, the scope of the work performed is indicated. In the second section, the Pharaon project is introduced and the importance of co-design for this project is described. In the third section, the methodology of co-design and user requirements elicitation to be applied in the Pharaon project is explained. In the fourth section, the entire process of co-design and engineering of user requirements as well as the results obtained is specified. Finally, the conclusions are presented to the organizations that have collaborated and partially funded this research. We begin with the first section of the presentation to discuss the scope of work. This contribution summarizes the co-design and user requirements engineering work carried out in the framework of the Pharaon project, in pilot to be deployed in the region of Murcia. The methodology, design, and use is explained to serve as inspiration for similar approaches for smart healthcare, ambient-assisted living, or smart environments. Now, we proceed to introduce the Pharaon project. The Pharaon project aims to design and implement a European healthcare ecosystem in which people, software, and hardware interact with each other in a smart, non-intrusive, and dynamic way. That is, a novel information and communication technology-based healthcare solution. The Pharaon ecosystem is composed of a great variety of ambient-assisted living technological solutions organized in clusters, which are large-scale pilots to be deployed in 6 different sites: Murcia and Andalusia in Spain, another pilot in Portugal, in Netherlands, Slovenia, and finally in Italy. Each pilot will be designed to be performed a set of scenarios and use cases, while a large-scale pilot under the Pharaon ecosystem umbrella will orchestrate a subset of technologies deployed on each pilot and data gathered to perform novel and collaborative cross-pilot scenarios and services. Pharaon project follows a human-centric design approach. So in this context, co-design is seen as a critical phase to success. Co-design helps people involved in the project development. The benefits of co-design are related to improving the creative process, the service, project management, etc. The phases of co-design are mainly twofold: to identify the goals of the service design project and to align their co-design activities and the associated benefits with these goals. The co-design outputs fits the engineering user requirements, which is a mandatory step for fitting the technical requirements of the solution. At this point, it is time to describe the general methodology for engineering user requirements. In the Pharaon project, This methodology should enable iterative co-design with the stakeholders, in particular with all the adults. Iterative co-design means that the requirements are iteratively validated and elaborated through user experience design and prototyping until the stage is reached. In the Pharaon project, user requirements were elicited by co-design workshops managed by each pilot with format or motivational goal modeling. Co-design workshops involve all the adults and other stakeholders in the elicitation process, such as healthcare professionals, formal and informal caregivers, and service providers. The requirements elicitation methods used by the pilot sites were interviews by phone and electronic means, in-person interviews conducted by former caregivers trained for this purpose, web surveys, and in some cases virtual co-design workshops. The data gathered from the workshop were basically an understanding of what activities by older adults and other stakeholders should be supported by the overall socio-technical system to be designed, and what are the quality and emotional aspects of the activities to be supported. In short, workshops and other means produce 4 lists. Do, which is the list of functional goals. For instance, communicate, to be in touch, sustain well-being. The list of quality goals, or B, for example, easy to use, secure, scalable. The list of emotional goals, which is feel, for instance, helpful, purposeful. The list of stakeholders' roles, which is called Q. For instance, older adults, formal and informal caregivers, healthcare professionals, including nurses and physicians. The 4 lists should be represented in a structured way as a single-page diagram. A goal model can be considered as a container of 4 components: emotional goal, functional goal, quality goal, or roles. These are the components of each of the lists mentioned in the previous slide. Figure on the right depicts an example of goal model for the well-being support system designed for older adults. After introducing the key concepts, we proceed to present the co-design and engineering of user requirements in the Murcia pilot. The Murcia pilot aims to deploy a new telecare model based on teleassistance, proactivity and prevention, users and their environment. Murcia pilot defines 2 scenarios: Angel of Health, which is focused in the health status definition and its progress over time. Focusing on health failure. And Care Home, which is the scenario about non-intrusive monitoring and alarm triggering, focus on energy consumption patterns. The definition of Angel of Health and Care Home scenarios includes goals, roles involved, key performance indicators, quality goals, emotional goals, technologies involved, and ethical concerns. Both tables summarize some of these features. The methodology for engineering user and pilot requirements in the Murcia pilot comprised 3 workshops to be carried out for 1 month. Due to the constraints imposed by COVID a contingency methodology was designed. This contingency methodology consisted of three main phases. The first phase is called the SWORK, which is depth research on co-design workshops, data and results obtained in previous initiatives carried out by the public healthcare in Murcia, framed in similar contexts than Faram. The functional pink, quality blue, and emotional green goals identified are presented below. The second phase is the requirement analysis, in which the design the dissemination of a questionnaire for all involved groups and analysis of results is done, and which in the identification of potential participants from the different target collectives is completed, and the finalization of the initial goals framework. And finally, the phase of virtual co-design, which is a workshop with the selected representatives of each collective and pilot partners for the introduction of the work framework and the creation of different focus groups with representatives of each collective to define and discuss the goals and their models. The analysis of the results obtained from the above-mentioned activities performed during the contingency methodology resulted in the identification of quality, functional, and emotional goals. The main three goals models identified to be designed were: get involved in the health and care process, improve patient care, and detect emergency situations. The representation of the goal model, get involved in the health and care process, is depicted below. From the goals, models, and main scenarios, the methodology of use cases was used to identify, clarify, and organize the system requirements in the Murcia pilot. 7 use cases were defined: get involved in the health and care process, assess personal situations and risks, strengthen knowledge of healthy lifestyles and behaviors, improve patient care, boost disease follow-up, upgrade interventions, detect emergency situations. The table illustrated in this slide shows the use case scenario for strengthened knowledge of healthy lifestyles and behaviors as an example of the work performed. Note that the potential technology field lists those offered by the technical and platform providers of the Pharaon consortium. We proceed to discuss the conclusions of this work. This work has introduced the co-design and user requirements engineering work carried out in the Pharaon project, focused on the pilot in the Murcia region. The work has been conducted by a co-design phase where the authors had to define the methodology for the co-design and representation of the user requirements as goal models, use cases, scenarios, and user stories. The methodology entails several up-to-date co-design methods for user requirements elicitation. Result of this work will fit the next step in the pilot deployment, deciding the technologies to be used in the use case scenarios and how to use them as building blocks of the Pharaon ecosystem. Finally, it is worth mentioning the organization and institutions that have supported this work. We thank all participants in the Murcia pilot co-design and workshops. Special thanks to the Murcia Health Service for its support. This work has been partially funded by the European Union Horizon 2020 Research and Innovation Programme under grant agreement related to Pharaon project and Spanish national project called Onofre 2. This concludes the presentation of the paper Untitled Co-Design and Engineering of User Requirements for a novel ICT healthcare solution in Murcia, Spain. Thank you for your attention.